All right, everybody, welcome back to the Overwatch Collective Podcast, Season 9, Episode 12. I'm here with Doug White, the author of Tell This Story, 14 and a half years in the United States Air Force active and reserve time, and then 25 years of law enforcement experience. Doug, thank you for coming on. I appreciate you.
Thank you, Greg, for having me, man. I appreciate you sharing time with me and giving me some access to your platform. Thank you.
Of course. I'm looking forward to diving into the book and hearing all about it, the process, asking you questions about it, and then helping advertise it or however we can. First, I'm going to mention a few things. First is our therapy statistics for the Overwatch Collective. So as of, October 11th, we're at $306,143.50 spent on therapy costs, 2,969 therapy sessions, either fully covered or financially assisted. And then 279 people in our first responder and military community have gone through our nonprofit organization to get connected to our contracted, culturally competent therapists while maintaining complete confidentiality. And happy to say that we've been able to maintain a connecting process to that therapist to get them linked up within like 2 days. So things have been going. Wow, I can't even talk right now. Things have been going very well in the nonprofit realm. And then Russ and Iron Clothing Company is our partner company. So Clyde Active Firefighter, they're just opening up a shop. 20% of the proceeds come to the Overwatch Collective, almost at $2,000 now, donated to us. Aaron at Grind Ops Coffee, we did a collab, $350 raised there. And then currently with Tack Hunt Fish, Jake's hooked us up. We got 2 pairs of shorts out with our helicopter logo on them. And 100% of the proceeds are going to come to us from that. So got some cool things in the works. That is all that I have for the admin intro stuff. So I'm done talking for a little bit. Doug, I want you to give us a little introduction. Tell us where you're from, what brought you into the United States Air Force, being a police officer, and we'll take it from there.
I'll get into that. But first of all, incredible numbers you guys are doing, just the impact you guys are making. 279 people. That's incredible. Incredible, man.
Yeah.
So congratulations on that. That is no small feat, especially in the, a space that is so densely populated for veteran and first responder charities. It's great stuff. Like you said, man, Air Force. I was born and raised in Tampa, Florida. I joined the Air Force in 1993, decided I wanted to be a security police officer. Now it's security forces. They changed the code back in, I want to say it's October of 97. But I did 4 years active, and I went right into the active reserves. I was fortunate enough to find a home here at U.S. Special Operations Command at MacDill at Tampa. So I was at the Major Command there for my last 10 and a half years, and plank owner for the Protective Services Detachment there. It was a great time. Since I was active reserve, I did a lot of days out there, usually 180-day orders, and then my minimum mandatory, because you've heard the book, and anybody who's read the book, they know I have a problem with professional boundaries and saying no. So I did that, and then I got hired as a reserve deputy for the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office here in Tampa back in January of 98. 98. In July of 98, I went full-time with them. I served the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office for 25 years to the day and retired July 13th of 23. During that time, on 9/11, I returned to active duty on 9/12 for 37 months and 18 days. And that's all pivotal part of the story. Came back to the Sheriff's Office in November of 04 and picked up right where I left off. Field training, training division, firearms instructor, all the things that you're supposed to do. I was on the bomb squad for almost 7 years. I was a certified bomb tech. Did the things, man. I loved my career. I valued my career. And to my own detriment, the things that most first responders and military personnel will face, the physiological and the neurological changes within us, if we're not aware of them, they took hold. And I thought I could try to outrun them. And I was successful to a degree, but to my own detriment, not as successful as I could have been. And that's what I'm doing now. So with Tell This Story, the platform Tell This Story, and my book, Hiding in Plain Sight, I just want to spread the word of my journey just through restorative storytelling, really. Just to give my stories as a cautionary tale of what not to do and how to do things better. So that's what I'm doing now.
No, I love it. And like I said before we started recording, I just finished listening to it on Audible. Thank you for the
Mhm.
code, because I was in the Marine Corps, man. I can't really spell. Like, it's like Dumb and Dumber when I'm like,
There is a crayon
so,
version coming out for the Marine Corps birthday in November.
oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. I would read that
Not
very
really,
quickly.
but I got a
Um,
couple of buddies that would love that.
yeah, that would sell. Honestly, I would buy one of those
And
just
make
for
it
the hell
scratch
of
and
it.
sniff. Yeah.
Yeah, I would. I would. Yeah, that would be great. Yeah, so I was literally listening to. I was working some traffic detail yesterday and had it on, um, and literally just finished it less than 24 hours before recording this podcast. And it was a goal of mine, obviously, to finish the book prior to recording. Um, and it was great. And I'll tell you, the first thing that stuck out to me was the title, Hiding in Plain Sight, because we talk a lot about first responder and military community wearing the mask,
Mhm.
right, to hide their emotions and what's really going on. And I know in the book you talked about how you were an advocate for your fellow coworkers to be like, hey, go get help, take care of yourself, but you weren't taking care of yourself.
Yeah.
And then that eventually caught up to you. Um, so I want to start off by asking you the title of it, Hiding in Plain Sight. Like, where did that stem from?
It's exactly what I did. As you alluded to, when I became a supervisor, I would tell my squads, I would tell my platoons when I became a lieutenant, and actually had a full platoon. I had 24 deputies and 4 supervisors plus recruits. And, I would have roll calls and tell them it's okay not to be okay. The old cliche there. It's
Mm-hmm.
okay for you to have a problem. I'm good to go, but you come see me. And I did that for the better part of a decade, and I was the biggest hypocrite in the room. I knew I was having issues here and there, and some of the signs and symptoms that I saw early on, I looked at as one off. I never connected them together as this constellation or this doom loop that I had been stuck in for almost 18 years, to be honest with you. And when the book came out, one of the corporals that worked for me, a guy that's a very good friend of mine, he said, all those conversations you had, he said, were you waiting for somebody to come to you so you'd have an opportunity? And I
Mm-hmm.
said, bro, you're the first guy in all these years to call me on my shit. Yeah. I was hoping and praying that somebody would come to me just so I could share something. And yeah, so Hiding in Plain Sight is what it was. I've had other people call me after they've read the book. Great friends of mine, 25-year friends, reach out to me and say, well, thank God you're a human being. Thank God you're still here. Thank God you're a human being, because they said, trying to be around you, knowing that I had to bring my A game, even if we were hanging out socially, I always had to be on because you were always on. And they said it was exhausting. I'm glad to know that you're human. And so, yeah, nobody knew. Well, I take that back. I mean, you've heard the book, and as those that have read the book, my wife knew the whole time, and
Yeah.
she held on despite my best efforts to hide the cracks. She was there, and she held on, but nobody else saw it. I was highly effective, highly functional, winning at every step until I wasn't anymore.
Yeah, and I think one of the big things with our community, right, is we are so good at doing exactly what you
Hmm.
just said. We're so good at compartmentalizing,
Oh yeah,
about suppressing the shit and being on your A game, right? Because they teach us in whatever branch of the military you go into, right? Like, whatever, the police academy, the fire academy, it doesn't matter. You got to push through. You got to complete the mission. We'll deal with it later. That's
yeah,
essentially like, hey, you're injured. You got to fight through. Deal with it later. And that carries on to mental health and the shit that we see. And then you're like programmed not to actually take care of yourself and suppress it, because that's what we were taught.
yeah. And here's one of the things they forget about in the academy, or they don't think factors in, at least in my academy experience, either being in an academy or teaching the academies. We say stuff like, be courteous and professional, but have a plan to kill everybody you meet. If
Mhm.
somebody touches the
Mhm.
shirt, they go to jail via the hospital. All of those things, suck it up, drive on. I'm good. You good? Oh, yeah, living the
Yeah.
dream. All the things that we say and do, but what we forget when we're dealing with young recruits or young officers, young firefighters, young soldiers, sailors, and Marines, that the things that we are going to experience between the ages of 18 and 55, when God willing, we retire, every big event in our life is going to happen. We're going to find the people that
Mhm.
we love. We may go through a divorce. We're going to have children. We may lose children. We may lose our parents. Um, so all of those big things are going to happen despite what's going on at work. So not only is it the things that we see, the constant hypervigilance, the things that we have to deal with, living the trauma in somebody else's life, we're also living lives of our own. So we're responsible for
Mhm.
raising our children, paying our bills, being a good spouse, a husband or wife. And all of these things, they're expected not to bleed over into your professional life. That is absolutely impossible. We are human beings. Because I
Yeah.
can attest, and I think anybody out here listening to our voices right now can also attest that the things we experience at work are going to carry over into our home lives and affect our home. So it's only reasonable to believe that they're both going to affect one another. So I think leadership and the cultures of the first responder discipline should take that into effect and treat the whole person. Honestly, from the very beginning, let's front load these kids, let them know that these are physiological and neurological things that you will experience while living a life of service. This is not a character flaw. It's not a moral deficiency. You're not broken. These are
Mhm.
normal reactions to abnormal situations. These are
Yeah.
how, this is how you fix it. Let's not be afraid of it. And I think that's important to get out there. Um, and also we have to think about sanctuary trauma. Have you ever feared a bad guy? So, I mean, I can tell you from my experience, I never feared a bad guy, I never feared a call. But if I looked down and saw the prefix to our headquarters on my cell phone on my day off, that's it. My
You're
day
tripping.
just got shat upon. Like, oh
Yeah.
my God, what is it? What did they do? What do they think I did? So,
Yeah.
it's it's just all of it. And you just need to
Mhm.
understand that we're human beings.
Yeah, and I think one of the things, and I kind of want to get your opinion on too, is like if we think about how the pendulum is swinging. Like I know mental health, the awareness, the stigma is getting reduced, even though we're still seeing a high rate of suicides. There is an introduction to the awareness for mental health, the awareness for post traumatic stress in the academies. And I feel like if that started maybe 5 years ago, fast forward like 20, 25 years ago, all of those who did not have that are going to be pushed out of the career field. So hopefully the pendulum can fully swing in the right direction.
Yeah.
Um, and one of the things, and I know like in the book, it kind of made me think about too, is a lot of us don't want to reach out for help because of the stigma, because of everything that goes on. But you hear from your fellow officers stories from them, bad stories and everything, which make you be like, oh shit, I ain't reaching out for help at
Hmm.
all. Because when you hear of bad stories or people reaching out for help or something happening, and then admin and the leadership punishes them or kicks them out or whatever, it's like, dude, I'm just a number here, and like this cycle is going to continue to roll with or without me.
Yes. Yeah, that goes all the way back to the academy. We said it before we started recording that we're just a big family. No, we're not. You're
Hmm.
a line item on a budget. I don't care how big
Yeah.
your organization is.
Yep.
Hillsborough County, we were the 12th largest law enforcement agency in the country when I retired. 4,400 employees. We handled over 1 million CAD calls for service in 2022 and 2023, not combined. Each year, we were busy. The budget
Hmm.
item for my position is 4569. That was my badge number. It didn't say Doug White one each. It doesn't. The machine continues to go, and it has to. That's just the business of what it is that we do. It's without feeling because it has to continue doing the business of law enforcement. Um, I think if we get these kids to understand that in the very beginning, that this is a noble profession. and it deserves the best that you have to offer. However, there is a limit, and that limit is crashing your family and crashing yourself. You can always find something else to do. If you were smart enough to become a cop and you were successful at being a cop or a firefighter or military personnel, you can do anything. Anything.
Mhm.
You don't get the TPS reports in on time. Guess what? Nobody died.
Yeah,
Nobody
yeah.
died. So, oh my God,
Mhm.
so and so did this. Did anybody die? So we're good to go. We can
Yeah.
handle this with a business call tomorrow morning. Um,
Mhm.
so I think those are the important things to focus on as to what we're doing. Yeah, there's so many rabbit holes we can go down in any of these
There is.
conversations. But yeah,
There is.
one of
There
the things that I experienced, and it's in the book, uh, when I became vocal about what I had been experiencing, I was already facing discipline, and it's clearly put out there. But yeah, I was discredited. I was disavowed, and ultimately, 3 years after all of that stuff, I was dismissed when I retired. Um, Nobody from the entire command staff, who I knew personally and had a relationship with and had worked with most of them directly, um, not a single person has called me to ask me if I'm good, how I'm doing, how the family's doing, did I get the resources I needed. We had a peer support team. We have chaplains. We have a robust EAP. We've got great insurance. Um,
Mm.
Not a single person has asked me that. So it's amazing.
And your retirement party,
Yeah, the retirement party. Um,
they didn't show up to that, right? I know you mentioned that and everything, right? Where it's like
yeah, well,
we're and really quick,
yeah, yeah,
let me add this. As you have like the beautiful shadow boxes in the background,
yeah,
right? One of the big things in the community that this is something that irks me the wrong way is you could do 20 years in the military active and hey, thank you for your service. Get your DD-214, you get a shadow box with challenge coins, all your ranks from E1 all the way up, whatever your medals, your ribbons, and it's like, okay, cool, you're out. Same thing for the first responder community. You can have a retirement party. Um, like at my last agency, it was like, hey, on your last day, come in civvies, drop off your equipment. If you want burgers, we'll get burgers, we'll pay for it. And then after that, like, you don't hear from them at all. Like people come down, grab food, take off and everything, and then
yeah,
like that's it, you know. And then you're just like you're out.
yeah. That's how it was. And again, I expected an organization and a profession to love me as I loved it. Those are inanimate objects. They're not capable of love. So
Yeah.
to expect it to love you and be dedicated as to you as you are to it, you're just setting yourself up for failure. My retirement party at the district was, I mean, it was nice. It was nice, but you know, retiring as a lieutenant, the entire command staff is going to be there. Retiring as a deputy, same 25 years. You get the people that are actually at the district or anybody driving by who wants a slice of the sheet cake that you purchased and brought in. Um, so
Well, yeah, because and we also have to talk about your demotion process.
yeah, yeah, that's not always a fun one. And the funny
It's
thing is that case has been burned by IA. It's been purged from all the files. The only reason it still lives is because I own it. I put it in the book. Um, I've still got the entire DVD with all the audio, all the GPS coordinates, everything, the entire case. It's all there. So if anybody ever wants to call me out, set up a Dropbox. I'll send it to you. You give me your own
yeah.
feelings on it. So,
Mhm.
and oddly enough, nobody from my former organization has challenged anything that I put in the book about the case. It's all there. It's true.
Yeah, and one of the things too, and I just talked about this on a previous podcast. Like I think it was either season 9 episode 11, the previous one, or 10, but um it was 11 with Roger. He was a police officer in Australia, and we talked about how quickly agencies are to discipline their
Oh yeah,
people, um, and how you go through the IA process and it's so quick and easy to do that, but the actual times that they're checking in on their people and their employees and ensuring that they're doing well and that they are putting the best product out in the
yeah.
community, it
Zero.
goose. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So just to be very, very clear on the front end, there was a policy in place, and I remember it was September 12th, 2017. The policy was written. It was my first day in the Homeland Security Division as a sergeant for the division. So I remember the day. It was a big day for me. And
Mhm.
the policy said that all personnel will complete their payroll daily. Punch in, punch out. Very simple. Up until that point, everybody in Planet Sheriff's Office and Planet Law Enforcement, they do their payroll at the beginning of the pay period, back it out, whatever, adjust their hours, got overtime here, went home early there. Everything is good to go as long as it comes out in the wash. Some people don't
Mhm.
even claim overtime hours that they actually work, and it's common. It's just what we do. Uh, and I continued. I adhered to the policy, but as things started getting worse and worse for me, and um, the effects of post traumatic stress injuries, the hypervigilance, anxiety, depression, sleep disturbances, hormonal imbalance, TBI, all of the things that go into this toxic soup of PTS and all of that stuff. I went for about 6 months, April to October of 19, sleeping about an hour and a half to maybe 3 hours a day, days on and days off. Um, so the things that you can handle while you're sleeping, you're not as capable of handling when you're not sleeping. Everything
Mhm.
is magnified. And the sleep studies are out there for all of that. I mean, it's not even anecdotal. I'm not saying I was sleepy. There's scientific, information backing all that up. Um, so I would do my payroll at the beginning of the pay period, and I would back it out at the end. Well, being exhausted, working a midnight shift as a platoon commander or lieutenant, um, I'd find myself driving off the road, off the highway, almost underneath semi trucks. I'm not the guy that sleeps on duty, so
Yeah.
I would get out, park the
Yeah.
car, and walk around the exterior of a mall. Um, do whatever I could to stay awake. And when I couldn't do that, I just would go home. I would leave it to the sergeants, and I would write down my time and back it out at the end of the pay period. Well, that worked, and it was perfectly fine. But after a while, I was task shedding, just part of that. Like, hey, I'll remember this. Well, cognitive ability goes completely in the shitter when you're in the condition that I was in, and so I say, case in point, I'd go home at 2:52 on a Wednesday morning. Okay, 2:52. I get off at 6. That's fine. Well, come Sunday, 2 weeks from now, it's like, all right, I left on that Tuesday morning. Was it 2:52 or was it 3:52 or 3:15? It
Mm.
was 3 a.m. I left at 3 a.m. on that day. Well, that's 8 minutes that I just got paid for that I didn't work. Okay, these are honest human mistakes, and of course, as time
Yeah.
went on, um, that's what happened. And to be very, very clear, there is a very simple policy in place. I was knowingly in violation of that policy. Whatever comes after violating a policy, as simple as it may be, I own every bit of that. It's on me.
Mhm. Mhm.
In in October of 2019, I went home early and left a sergeant in charge, a sergeant that I thought that was less than, but I didn't promote them to sergeant. I was responsible, and I left them in charge of the platoon when I went home at 3 a.m. At 3:15, a pursuit started that would have never started. Went into an adjoining county, would have never, again, started because it was completely against policy, and ended up in the nightly email. Colonel wakes up in the morning, and the first question is, "Where was Doug?" Followed by,
Yep.
"This would have never happened if Doug was working." Now, also to be
Yeah.
clear here too, you can delegate responsibility, or you can delegate authority, but you can never delegate responsibility. I left that person in charge. Whatever happens, I own that. I'm the boss. It was my decision. So they looked at my log off time and said 03. They looked at my payroll time and said 06. They decided that they were going to go back a year. They pulled my GPS for a full year. They knew where I was every 3 seconds that I was working because it drops a GPS coordinate pin. They know my speed. They know where I was eating dinner, how long I was eating dinner, the everything, the whole IA ball of wax. And
Mhm.
so my major asked me about it, and I said, "Look, this is what I do. I know that it's wrong. I don't know how much time that I'm upside down, but if I am, I have it in my accruals. I don't take overtime. I left a division that I was in charge of I have 6 overtime budgets and all off-duty work for the entire agency. and I left with no accruals and my comp pay, unlike any other sergeant in the history of that position. So,
Yeah,
so
because they're stacked
yeah,
to the bank.
exactly. So they were aware that this wasn't a time grab. It wasn't something that was malicious or anything else like that. But it's a public trust issue. I mean, this is taxpayer dollars. I was overpaid. So roughly $2,000 over the course of a year being overpaid. Again, it's in my accruals. Um, I wish that number was lower and they had actually subtracted the overtime that they proved that I worked that I didn't put in for.
Mhm,
But yeah,
mhm.
$2,000 basically cost me my career. I was demoted from lieutenant to deputy. It was about a 4.5 month process for the investigation and everything else. And just prior to being notified in November of the case, about 5 or 6 weeks prior to that, I started getting help. I come to the point where there was no other choice.
Mhm.
So I started getting help, and luckily for me that I was getting help and was able to offload some of those things before I was notified of a case, because going through IA is not something easy, and it certainly isn't easy to do with a full cup. But
No, no. Oh, well, especially not with a full cup, but even when you go through an
yeah,
IA, you're kind of on an island because you're not supposed to talk about it, and you're like, "Oh shit, this
yeah.
is
The
serious."
funny thing is, the command staff knew about it, obviously, because it's a command staff issue.
Yeah.
One of the sergeants, two of the underperforming sergeants were interviewed. One of the sergeants that was performing well was interviewed. None of the other 5 supervisors that worked for me during that time frame were interviewed. Um, and basically, the investigation outside of the sergeants and the people who were interviewed, it didn't exist. I was left in charge of my platoon for the 4.5 months. Nothing changed with my responsibilities or anything. It was mission is drive on. And
Mhm.
my platoon continued to crush every obstacle put in their way. High performing, high morale. My platoons would fill up at shift bid before anybody else's, and it was great, man. I, I really have to hand it to the sergeants and corporals and the deputies I was working with then. Um, if I had a group that was not as wonderful as they were, the wheels would have come off much sooner, I'm sure.
Yeah, and I think that's a testament to you and your leadership
No,
because, like,
I was lucky
I
to
hit.
be with the people that I was with. I was lucky.
It goes both ways, right? So you can have a good team, a good crew, but if you have a shitty leader, that good crew is going to hang out and they're not going to go out of their way to take care of their supervisor.
Yeah,
Where like I've had really good supervisors and I've had supervisors that nobody likes. And trust me, there are times when like I have been one of the senior dudes on the shift. I'm like, oh, I could be doing this task, or this should probably be documented, or maybe I should let him or her know, right? But you're like, nah, fuck that, Like it's seriously, it's a
yeah.
thing,
No, I
right?
know, I know. Yeah, but I've played the deputy games.
Yeah, and then I've also had supervisors that are like, "Hey, they take care of us. Like, if we need a day off or something, they will pick up a beat and start taking calls. Or if you're getting hammered, they'll take a fucking identity theft
Mhm.
report for you." And for us, right? Like at the time, as an officer, if you're getting hammered and you got a lot on your plate and your sergeant takes one of your cases for you, like, hey, I will go out of my
Yeah.
way to do whatever you need. So it's also a testament to you.
Well, I will say building leadership capital should not cost you anything more than what you're already doing. To
Mhm.
me, taking an identity theft report for you, even if I have to make copies and impound stuff into evidence, it takes me 30 to 45 minutes. Out of a 12-hour shift,
Mhm.
that's negligible. But the impact to you, giving you time to breathe, that 45 minutes for you to decompress or whatever, um,
Yeah.
one, it shows you when you become a leader what leadership looks like. You can see, look at your troops. I mean, these guys are dragging ass, and these gals are dragging ass. What can I do to step in here? I've seen this
Mhm.
before. I remember what this feels like. This is easy for me. Let me take this. Let me take all the alarm calls. Let me take the burglary business checks. Let me do these things for them so they don't have to do the obligatory bullshit that weighs them down.
Yeah.
So they can maybe sit behind a movie theater and bullshit with each other for a half hour. Um, yeah, those things they cost leaders nothing. And those are the easy things. Of course, when it comes to having the hard conversations, to standing there and taking the hit for your people, you must do that too. You can't just be the guy that swoops in with candy and lollipops for the kids. Um,
Mhm.
you got to put in the work. Rich DeVinny, he wrote the book Attributes. He's former Dev Crew Navy SEAL. And the attributes is a fantastic work. He talks about the attributes that it takes to be successful, either as a special operator or leadership. And he says in there very clearly that you have to have the characteristics of a good leader. Uh, in fact, you have to do the verb before you earn the noun leader. And so
Mhm.
those things were intuitive to me. It was easy, and honestly, it was the best part of my career, being able to be in a position of positional authority to positively impact the people that I worked with. Um, that was great, and that was really the thing that I missed. It wasn't
Mhm.
it wasn't the pleasure of having an unmarked car. It was being able to use influence and knowledge and wisdom to help out these kids that I was working with.
Yeah, and I saw that, and I want to give you another shout out, another pat on the back when you hit up a deputy and you were like, "Hey, can you bring everybody in at like 02:03 in the morning?" And you told them everything that was going on, so they were up to date. Like
Yeah.
coming from your mouth and your point of view, I think that was a great idea to do, and very honorable.
Well, the situation demanded it. I mean, the people that I worked with at the time were incredible, and it was no fault of theirs. And I wanted to own the fact that I'd been saying all of these things for all these years for a reason,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
to use this as a cautionary tale. And it was funny because every one of them, with the exception of the sergeant who was still with me that had been interviewed, ultimately he was the one that kicked in the side of his patrol car door and was cussing up a storm. Everybody thought I'd been promoted to captain. They had no idea I got transferred to the hood and was working day shift while they were sleeping. Um, yeah, so that's how broken I was. My entire platoon thought I'd been promoted to the next rank, not demoted to deputy.
Yeah, and just suppressing it, right? And obviously, if you're in a leadership position too, you can't look weak for the troops. You got to put on the like.
That
That's kind of how it is. But so
I'm
what's
glad
up?
I'm
You
glad
got
you
some?
said that, man, because I've been trying to put this into words on how I was going to
Yeah,
put that out, and you opened that box for me just now. Um, I used to think to myself, first, I was always the one on the shield, always the number one on the door. If it was a bomb call out, I was the number one, had to be on the robot, had to be in the suit, had to go down range. I did all of those things because, one, it shows leadership and it inspires people to follow. Also, I didn't want to let anybody down. If anybody that was working for me or with me got injured and I could have done something to impact the outcome of that, and I did not, I don't think I could have lived with myself.
yeah.
So, all of those things, I believed that if I told them that I was having a problem or struggling, or I wasn't able to compartmentalize or be the shaved head enforcer, the persona that they believed that I was, nobody'd ever follow me. I would lose credibility. Those were the things that I thought that was the story I was telling myself. However, having been a lieutenant, a platoon commander, a bomb tech, the guy, at SOCOM, all of the things that I accomplished that are either on the wall behind me or rented admiration from whatever organization I was with. Had I used all of that stuff and actually leveraged that with credibility and stood in front of them and said, "Hey, everybody, I've been saying these things to you for the last 10 years, and I've been the biggest hypocrite in the room. Here's what I'm struggling with. I'm getting help. This is the help that I'm getting. And I want you to get help too. I want you to come to me if you have a problem because we can do this together. I've already done it. Follow me." If I had done that with my professional credibility, backed by my character that I had developed and the reputation that I had earned in the profession, that would have had a much larger impact than me self-destructing and sitting behind a school with a fucking pistol in my hand.
Hmm.
And it's unfortunate that regret is only, life can only be understood by looking back. And
Yeah.
it's unfortunate that I sit here now and I'm able to finally verbalize that. And thank you for saying that because it sparked that box to open. But I think that I would have been much better served and would have been a much better example to the troops that were following me and that I had the privilege to lead and be associated with had I taken that course
Hmm.
of action instead of just sucked it the fuck up and drove on. So
Yeah.
there's a little bit of growth
Yeah.
there today for the listeners of the Overwatch Collective.
Yeah. No, I mean, and it does make sense too, and I that's why I applaud so many people that leave the career field and then come on podcasts or start organizations or write a book like what you're doing, right? And I know you talked to Travis Gribble, and
Good
after
dude.
his law enforcement, yeah, 100%, after his law enforcement career and him starting My Arena and now everything he's doing with Boulder Crest out in Texas, like it's amazing, and it's so yeah, there you go, yeah, and it's so rewarding, and it brings me joy to see people in this community that are like, I wish I did this X amount of years
Hmm.
ago, right? Things could have been different, but then it's also like, and I've had Travis on the show and I've been on his, and he came to speak at our fundraiser. Very good dude. He is like, hey, this is what I
Hmm.
did. This is what I should have done. Do not be like Travis.
Yeah.
Learn from it. Learn from me, Um, where, yeah, if you were to say that you were actively getting help, you were going to therapy, or you were going to go to a retreat, etc., and then you were able to pass that on to the team. And like, if we had more leaders like that, and it was normalized more sharing, it would open up that door and that window for more like junior deputies, officers
Absolutely.
to be struggling and be like, oh shit, that lieutenant, that sergeant that I respect the hell out of, that's done SWAT, he's done the bomb stuff, he's done all this,
Take
is
the
getting.
positional authority away. This senior officer, my FTO,
Mhm.
dude, as an FTO, you are shaping the culture of your organization and the profession at large. You really are.
Yeah,
If you sit in the
yeah,
driver's seat of the passenger seat and you're a dick because you think you're special, oh, dude, the difference between you and the kid in your passenger seat's longevity. That's it. That's it. You're no
yeah,
better or no worse. If you take the opportunity to have a little bit of emotional intelligence and treat these people um, as an equal, I mean, your job as an FTO is to make young cops into old cops. That's the goal. And if you
mhm,
take an opportunity to do that, that's the first time that they're going to see that this is the culture of their profession. So
mhm,
FTOs, I mean, you're a first line supervisor, so you don't need the positional authority or the rank. Anybody who has the character can step up and say, "Look, this is what I've experienced." Instead of going to the dark humor after a car crash, say, "Hey, look, I've got a problem with four people being incinerated in a car. Can we talk about this? Can we just sit for a minute and acknowledge that nobody's going to forget this smell instead of wondering what the
yeah,
Carfax is going to say?"
mhm. Yeah, and that's right, like, when they're learning their career and how to
Hmm.
do it when they're in FTO, normally, like, one of my first calls with a death by suicide, a GSW to the head, and it was like, we go there, and one of my other buddies was like tasked to take photographs in the crime scene log, and I'm like clearing the firearm, reading the suicide note, doing all the work, and then after it was like, all right, we got to go book the firearm, we have this whole to-do list, and I'm like, holy shit, like,
Yeah.
I was
And there's a
21 years
child
old.
abuse waiting in the queue for you. So no
Yeah,
lunch
yeah, that
today.
we need to
You're
go.
going to a
Yeah,
hospital
yeah,
after
here,
evidence.
and it's on the other side of the
Yep.
city, but we still need to take it because you don't have one for
Yep.
training
Make
yet.
sure you have all reports
uh,
done by the end of shift two.
yeah, yeah, so just overloading, and I guess long story short is like what we're talking about here is um, if we raise awareness and we decrease the stigma and offer like legit
Yeah,
help um, early on, it'll reduce hiding in plain sight.
absolutely. No, it takes emotional intelligence and moral courage to step up and do those things. And
Mm-hmm.
one of the most powerful things that I found through all of this, um, writing the book, it came from my journaling and seeing how I was speaking to myself, which was not kind, but but growing through all of these things. I have found that owning my story and sharing it with others has been the most empowering thing I've ever experienced. Because even
Mm-hmm.
even just like we just did, man, I'm finding out different things and looking at different perspectives and how to solve other problems. Still, I'm not the man that I was an hour ago. I don't think any of us are. And if we take those opportunities to be that 1% better each day and to grow from our experiences, and then the key, sharing that experience with others, I think we're
Yep.
we're all called on to do that.
Yeah, and that's why I love so much like the I'd say like the retired first responders and service members for the most part, because if you're active, it's still kind of a little bit of a gray area.
Yeah.
And people are kind of scared. But those people, and then like you writing a book and doing all this stuff and getting it out there, and then hopping on a podcast just like this, and I'll get into our motto and ask you that, but it's crazy just like you writing your book and sharing these stories and what you were going through, coming on these podcasts, doing all this stuff. It's making a positive impact in the community.
There's a
I,
moral obligation, man. I hate to use I hate to use this as an example, but it's like I found the answers to the test. I'd be kind of a dick if I didn't share it with my friends.
mm,
I found a way forward, and I want to make sure
yeah,
that nobody has that gun in the hand moment that I had. If anybody can
mm,
hear my voice or my message, I wanted to just wanted to reach people, man. We deserve to be living better than the way we're living, and we should be living better than the way we're told we should.
mm,
Compartmentalizing and ego and persona, it's all bullshit. And it's easy to say because I'm retired. I don't have to worry about keeping my job. But you know, building credibility in this space, you have to be authentic. You have to be vulnerable because cops, firefighters, dispatchers, military personnel, they can smell bullshit before you open your mouth. And if you lose them in
mm,
this arena, you are not helping a single person. So you have to show
yep,
up every day as the best version of yourself and the real version of yourself. If not, you're not serving anybody. Your mission is shit. So,
hmm yeah, no, I couldn't agree with you more. That's why we contract with culturally competent therapists, because when you get a first responder or service member that goes to
mhm.
therapy, they can smell that shit right away, and they're about face and they're
Yeah,
fucking
I
out.
left my therapist crying. She was a heap of tears and Kleenexes when I left.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
felt bad
See,
about
that's
that
and
too.
that's a shitty thing, right? That's such a shitty thing when it's like you go through the employment assistance program, or you try to get connected to a therapist and you finally do, and you're like, all right, I'm going to take this big step. I'm going to finally do it. I've heard Greg talk on the podcast about this, and then you go in there, you share the story. Oh, I pulled the pistol out of my holster and I was looking at it, considering dying by suicide, blah blah blah. And the therapist is like, and then you have to console him or
Mhm.
her. Like, we in our community, we cannot have
No,
that. Like,
no,
we cannot have that.
uh-uh.
We require a higher level of training, care, and like
Absolutely.
uh, and all that for our therapists. So that's what we try to
Hmm.
provide. Um, so I want to ask you one more topic that I want to kind of get into, and then we'll kind of
Cool.
wrap it up. Relationship advice. So one of the big things was your wife, right? So she knew what was going on. I give us some advice for the first responder, military community, somebody who's struggling, somebody whose cup is full, that's about to overflow, um, and dealing with their relationship, talking to their spouse, significant other.
There are, my wife is not a central figure in my story. She is the figure. Without her being awake when I returned home on October 19th, 2019, my story goes dead at page 126. There's nothing more.
Mm,
Um, any podcast I've been on, anytime I've been asked this question, that answer is the same. Um, culturally competent counselor. I heard that for the first time a little over a year ago from Travis Gribble, and I've been using it ever since. I believe in the clinician sense, yes, a culturally competent clinician is absolutely helpful. Any help is helpful. That is impactful. I will say this anecdotally. My culturally competent counselor, my first responder, held my hand at an altar 25 years ago and chose me as her person. She sits 18 inches away from me on a couch in the evenings. She makes me homesick when she goes to work. Um, the people who love you most, and this is for anybody out there struggling, or before you even struggle, the people who love us most are actively looking for ways to help us. All we have to do is let them in. Don't think to yourself, it's just me. Don't think to yourself, they're not going to understand. Don't think to yourself, I have to do a trauma dump. It's not a trauma dump. Say, hey, I've had a really rough day. Can I have 15 minutes to myself to shed for the day? And then after that, I understand you were at work too. You had the kids at home sick from school. I'm not the only game in town. Other people have bad days. I'll take over the kids. I'll take over dinner, and you take a shower, take a bath, relax, and then we will come together and we'll talk about our days. Not as a one-up, but just off-gas to each other, support one another. If you don't set those ground rules in the beginning and just communicate, saying, hey, I've had a rough day, can I have 15 minutes? And making it part of your daily routine. You don't have to start stuff up by saying, hey, can we have a conversation? Just have a conversation. Don't predicate any conversation with, can we talk? Because you're going to shut your first responder down immediately.
Yeah,
But on the
100%.
same token, if you come home with your ass on your shoulders because you had a bad day or your sergeant pissed you off or your zone partners are slugs, you can't bring that into the house and not explain it to your spouse, because your spouse is going to sit there and thinking, what did I do this time?
Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah.
kids, dad's had a bad day. Or, hey, kids, I don't know what kind of day mom or dad has had. Let's stay clear until we find out. That's not fair. And that you're not going to have a relationship that survives. I am fortunate because mine did. And I will tell you, the only reason that I give advice is because I'm telling you to do the exact opposite of what I did. I am not an expert in marriage. I am an expert on what I fucked up and what I could have done better. And I think Michelle, my wife Michelle, her preface to the book says it all. And to give you a little bit of insight on that preface that she wrote, she didn't want any part of this book. She's a very private person, and she is fiercely protective of me. And she thought that people would use this book to harm me, because it is literally everything that could hurt me. Every embarrassing moment, every shortfall, every failure, it's all there. And I was thinking about a way to do this, and should I do this? And without going into the full story, it was a Thursday evening. I got a text from a buddy of mine saying, hey, did you know so-and-so? I called him and I said, hey, man, words matter. When you said, did I know so-and-so? This is not a text message. What's going on? He got off work and he drove across the street and took his own life. And I thought to myself, I know this guy. He's a good dude. I would have never thought that he's struggling. Always happy when you see him, and he's just, guy's a warm hug. And I thought to myself, if I had not been so afraid of my words and my story and I put this out a month ago, would it have made a difference? Or even worse, more of an indictment of my character at the time, I think, had I just been a good friend and called him a week ago or Thursday morning. Now, we can what if that all day, and it's ridiculous to think that maybe that would have done it, but I ruminated over that for the next couple of days, and so did my wife, and she thought to herself, coming from a spouse, I didn't know where you were, speaking of me. I can only think of his wife, if she knew that she was struggling and couldn't find the courage to say something to him. I don't know how she would get through that, because I don't know how I would recover. She says, I feel like I want to say something in your book or do something in your book. And then she laughed and she said, but I'm not a writer. And I laughed and said, neither am I. So the preface that's in the book, she sat down over coffee at our back porch on a Saturday morning, 2 days after our friend had taken his life. And she typed it on her laptop. And as she typed it that day, there are no edits, no commas, no nothing. As she typed it in raw motion, it sits in the book. And she read it for the audiobook just 3 weeks ago, one time through. And it was not produced. It was not edited. How she said it is how it was done. And I will say, when I listened to it, I sat here holding her hands and I cried, because it is the most beautiful part of this entire project and this journey. Hiding in plain sight, if you want to get it. Yes, there's a lot of stories in there about grit, the lessons I learned and the way forward. But more than anything else, it is an apology letter to anyone who's loved me over the last 30 years. And it's a love letter to the woman who stayed. So if you want to find a way forward, the best advice I can give you is get the book. Read Surviving Retirement by Medina Baumgart. She wrote a great book talking about retirement and how to deal with your spouse. There are so many out there. Emotional support for law enforcement. I mean, the list just goes on, that people that are much more capable than I am. I just know because I messed it up.
You underestimate yourself.
Well, I have a tendency to do that too. Imposter syndrome
Yeah,
is still alive and well.
I see that. Something to always
It
work
is, yeah,
on, you know?
it is.
No, I appreciate you sharing that. I really do. And I think after listening to this, for the listeners out there, I'm sure you're intrigued now to go get the book to whether you read it or listen to it. Listening was just a lot easier for me. But absolutely fantastic. Highly recommend it. And it's honestly one of those where I feel like you can listen to or reread every 6 months or once a year or something like that. And I think there's a list of books that should be mandatory reading or listening for our community when they first start. Like, why not? Like, we give them all these learning domains in the police academy, fire academy, you get all this stuff to read. But if they read Surviving Law Enforcement, your book, a list of other books, maybe it would give them some tools for success. Just a thought,
No,
you know,
I
just
agree. I agree. And
yeah.
to be honest with you, if anybody's listening to this and they say, well, you need to buy 800,000 cops on the payroll. If somebody in government said we want to buy 800,000 copies of your book, I'm going to give you a link to buy them at cost. I won't make a penny. I could care less. Just to know that the message is getting out there and somebody, anybody can find it.
Yeah.
Do it. I just,
Yeah.
I love it. And I love that people are connecting with it and finding a way forward. So my mission's complete, man. Thank you.
Yeah. I like it. I can definitely pass it on to my department because I know they're working on a retention and mental health position full time. So I'll definitely be able to pass this on. Where can people buy it?
As always, Amazon is pretty much corner of the market on books, but it's Books a Million. You can get it at Target, anywhere online, really. I appreciate Amazon because they are the ones that drive the algorithms for advertisement. The more
Okay.
honest feedback that I get on the books with the ratings and stuff, Amazon will push it to the top of the list. There's like 5 books called Hiding in Plain Sight. Mine will get buried, but
Mm,
they kind of push it to the top if it's doing well. Um,
okay.
the audiobook is also on Audible. I've got the ebook, paperback. You can get it anywhere. You
Awesome.
can contact me, any of my socials. You can find it all on DougWhiteOfficial.com. It's pretty straightforward stuff. I love connecting with people and just hearing their stories. I've found, honestly, one of the greatest things about doing this and sharing my story is just people reaching out and letting me know that it's touched them, or even sharing their stories. It's been really cool.
Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. And then, so I have one more
Yeah.
question for you before we wrap it up. So it's our motto at the Overwatch Collective is one more is one less. So it comes from an Army infantry dude, 11 Bravo, who lost more friends to suicide upon return stateside than actually overseas. Um, so now it's on the back of our challenge coins, it's on our T-shirts, on our sweatshirts, and what we started doing ever since season 1, episode 6, which was like 165 episodes ago, is at the end of every podcast we ask our guests what one more is one less means to them.
I think in the context of what I'm trying to do, I think one more person who gets up and tells a story with moral courage and shows someone else the way forward, that means one less we're going to have to put in the backyard. I just,
Mm-hmm.
to get help is easy. There's no requisite amount of calls you have to go to, drownings or anything else. It's simply doing this. Raise your hand. Say, I need help. And if it takes somebody stepping up first and saying, I got help, or I need help, that opens the floodgates, I'll be that guy. If I need to wear a T-shirt on the corner, whatever it takes. And yeah, I like that motto. It's the easiest thing. Well, I take that back. There's so many people out there that would rather go out and get in a gunfight than have to talk about their feelings. Um, but if you pride yourself on doing hard shit, add this to the list.
Yeah. 100%. Well, I appreciate you answering that, and I'll get your address and everything. I'll send you out one of our shirts and one of our challenge
Oh man,
coins so you
thank
have a
you.
challenge. Of course. Sweet. Well, this wraps it up. It was great having you on. Great, like I said, great listening to the book. Great having you on. While it's still fresh in my mind, whatever we can do to help advertise it, push it, etc. Please let me know. It's good to know about Amazon and the review to be able to drop a review and how that helps you out. And that's it. You got anything else?
No, I what I would like to do. I know the book is a lot to go through. Don't listen to it or try to read it if you're going to go to sleep, because you, you're not
Yeah,
going to go to
yeah,
bed
yeah.
anytime soon. But I put together. I just kind of distilled some of the growth lessons that I learned in a 7-day and a 90-day Kickstart guide. I printed them up so people can see what they look like. Um,
Okay.
what I want to do is in the show notes, I'll give you the website so people, if they're interested, to get
Mm-hmm.
that. It's just actionable daily habits you can do that compound one another. Actions, breathing exercises, mindfulness, stuff like that. The things that I found that work for me that are obviously in the book. I've pulled them out so they can grab them, have kind of a tactical field guide. Um, I'll give you the web address you can put in the show notes for me, and of course a
Yep.
code that people can download those for absolutely no cost. So I
100%.
I don't have an
Gotcha.
ask other than what can I do for you, man. So I can't answer the question. You already done enough. I appreciate you giving me access to the platform, and the Overwatch
Of course.
Collective is pretty awesome stuff, man. I appreciate what you're doing.
Of course. Yeah. Yeah. Just obviously after losing friends to suicide, we're like, what can we do? And then it turned out to
You're
be
doing it,
this.
man,
So
and you're doing it well.
so, yeah, man. Likewise.
Thank you.
Likewise. I appreciate you. All right, everybody. Well, this wraps it up. Season 9, episode 12 with Doug. Go check out his book, Hiding in Plain Sight, and let us know what you think about the podcast in the comments. Thank you, Doug,
Thank
once
you.
again. Appreciate you, brother.